it's an incredible turn of events that now she's Queen Camilla.
Is it one of the royal family's greatest love stories?
The run-up to the wedding was an absolute omni-shambles.
I think it was totally right for the Queen not to attend.
Harry, I mean, he now says that he and William begged their father not to marry.
Well, you're always going to kind of hate your stepmom, aren't you?
Welcome to Royal Exclusive Rewind, your look back at the most memorable moments, the triumphs, the scandals, and the defining turning points in royal family history. This week, we rewind to April 2005, when one of the most controversial royal love stories finally reached the altar. After decades of headlines, heartbreak, and public hostility, Prince Charles wed Camilla Parker Bowles, once branded the most hated woman in Britain. Their relationship had tested the monarchy like never before, but as crowds cheered in Windsor and the Queen welcomed the couple into what she called the winner's enclosure, the marriage marked not just a royal wedding, but the beginning of Camilla's remarkable journey from royal outsider to Queen. Joining me to look back are 5 News royal correspondent Simon Viger and news commentator Samara Gill. Welcome to you both. Controversial love story, Simon.
Well, yeah.
Because when we first got news that Camilla and Charles not only to wed but were a couple, it wasn't too long, let's be honest, after the death of Princess Diana, who was the nation's sweetheart.
Yeah, and in 1995 Panorama, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so here are 2 of the people who were Diana was referring to there. Diana tragically died in 1997. This is only 2 years after that, the first public appearance of Charles and Camilla together at the Ritz Hotel at a birthday party, and I was in the press pack over the other side of the road there with about, I don't know, hundreds of photographers and journalists there who wanted this picture. Actually, on TV, we can't show the video of this because there were so many flashbulbs. Yeah. It provokes shocks. We either had to really slow the footage down because it's just flashbulb after flashbulb, or show a still image like this. But yeah, I mean, it's an incredible, as you've said, it's an incredible turn of events that now she's Queen Camilla, and people either broadly accept that or are, feel a lot of warmth towards her, given where she was in the 1990s. So
take us back to, so we called her in the intro there as one of the most hated women in Britain. Take us back to 1999. Samara, you might be too young at that time, so you might have been born, so I'm going to still lean on Simon for this stage. But what was the atmosphere really like? Were people so anti-Camilla at that time?
Yeah, they were.
Could you ever have imagined that he would have married Camilla?
Well, the only person who thought it was possible was Charles, and he, made it very clear to everybody around him, including his mother, that there was one non-negotiable in his life, and it was his partner there, who obviously they first got together in the early 70s, didn't marry in the 70s, went on to marry other people, and the rest is history. So she was not liked. Diana famously called her the Rottweiler. Most people were on Diana's side. The popularity of both of them was rock bottom at this point, but actually quite quickly after this, there's a sort of acceptance that, okay, they're a couple, they are in love. And, the Queen, a few years later, Camilla was seen at the Golden Jubilee. It's a remarkable PR campaign. Just very slowly.
It's a famous PR campaign, isn't it, Simon, the turnaround?
To get where she is now. And the final act.
Isn't an Australian PR person behind it all? I forget his name.
I think one of them was, yeah.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
But the final loose end was the late Queen, a few months before she died, saying that she wanted Camilla to be known as the Queen Consort, because up until then there had been this confession that she would be known as the Princess Consort, which nobody believed, but that's what the palace was briefing. It's
a remarkable story. Let's go back to so we talked about 1999 when this unveiling at the Ritz. You were there, Simon. Let's go to the actual wedding in 2005, because it wasn't held in a church. And now the Church of England rules say, divorcees can marry in church if there's kind of an agreement, but it wasn't actually married. It wasn't married in Windsor. And I seem to remember there was a bit of a mix-up because you could marry in St George's Chapel, but if they allowed that, then any members of the public could. So then they changed it to the Guildhall in Windsor. Is that right?
Yes. I mean, the run-up to the wedding was an absolute omni-shambles, and anything that could go wrong did go wrong. And they realised in the nick of time that if they had a a license for a civil ceremony within the castle. I'm not sure within the chapel, but if they had a civil service within the castle, it would mean that anybody could apply to have a civil ceremony within Windsor Castle.
Because there was new laws had just changed.
So that's definitely not going to happen. So they went down the hill to Windsor Guildhall and had the civil ceremony there, and then they went back up to the chapel for the blessing.
Did the Queen support this then? Because she didn't go to the civil ceremony in Windsor.
No, I don't think she was ever going to do that. But this is on the steps of the chapel, I think, and the Queen certainly went to the blessing. They could have got married in the chapel, but I think it was so soon after the rules had changed in the Church of England that they just decided it would be better diplomatically, taking into account the views of those in the Church of England who didn't agree with this, for not to do it. At the same chapel in 2018, of course, a divorcee did marry into the royal family. That was Meghan Markle. So, but actually, Charles and Camilla could have done it in 2005. They just chose not to.
Samara, at the ceremony itself, although the Queen, the late Queen, Prince Philip did not attend, William and Harry were there. Now, we've heard all sorts of, I think, things in Spare talk, well, it's a matter of record. It's a matter of record that he's written. I don't think it's.
Well, you're always going to kind of hate your stepmom, aren't you? I mean, it just kind of goes with the territory. You can't blame Harry for that in some way.
But it was nice maybe for Charles to actually have his two children there, because Camilla had children as well, Tom and Laura from her previous marriage. So they did actually have members of the family there, but just not the Queen and Philip. Do you think it was right decision from the late Queen not to attend the civil ceremony and only attend the blessing at Windsor later?
I think it was totally right for the Queen not to attend. I mean, there were some absolute tosh garbage rumours around Diana's death and the Queen, and I'm not going to even entertain any of them because they're not true. But unfortunately, they had circled around the media and people were believing that, there was some sort of cabal that was involved in removing Diana and making sure Camilla could be queen and all this stuff. So I think what I'm trying to say is the media attention, the scrutiny, the fact that Camilla was still very much a toxic brand, I don't think it's anything the Queen wanted anything to do with. I think, yes, okay, you have my blessing, son, go forth, marry the love of your life, but I'm not going to get embroiled in this and I'm not going to get involved.
She did, we point out she was at the blessing, she did make quite a wonderful speech, we're led to believe, because it was the same day as the Grand National.
Yeah, so she was missing the Grand National. Yeah, it was very well received speech. The Queen did make really good speeches. It's just we didn't in private. We saw the official stuff. This is the family photo there. Just going back to Harry, I mean, he now says that he and William begged their father not to marry, but that's different to what Harry was saying at the time, I think. But that's what he's been saying most recently. Major Bruce Shan there, Camilla's father, he apparently had I'm told, had a quiet word with Charles, dithering Charles, in the years running up to this, and saying, I just want to know my daughter's going to be all right. Shortly after this, he was diagnosed with cancer and he died the year after. But lovely wedding photos that he managed to see his daughter and grandchildren there at the wedding. But sorry, going back to the Queen, yes, she did make a great speech. They've got over Beeches Brook, they're home and dry. He's home and dry with a woman he loves in the Winner's Enclosure.
In the Winner's Enclosure.
So yeah, they love a good horsey analogy, this lot, and she did it.
Now, it's been over 20 years since they got married. Do you think that the dislike that the public had towards Camilla has now totally disappeared? And if so, why?
No, it hasn't totally disappeared, but you go for it.
No, I totally agree with you. It's still very much there.
There's a generation of people who will never forgive Charles and Camilla. I think most people now, realise it wasn't just down to Camilla. There were two people involved there. So the Wicked Witch of the West Country stuff, I think, has ebbed away. But there will be some people who never forgive her. That's a generational thing. The popularity polls now, Camilla's up in the sort of 40s, which is incredible compared to where she was. The late Queen, really did get on very well with her. So did Philip. Philip and her father were very similar, had similarities. So yeah, there'll be some people who never forgive her, but it's definitely a lot warmer than it was.
You mentioned about that she's now Queen Camilla. Which was actually appeared, I'm going to tell you this, it actually appeared first on the coronation invite.
Yes.
When it said Queen Camilla. Whoa, it's only Queen, because she was meant to be, correct me if I'm wrong here, Simon, Princess Consort.
Yeah.
Then the Queen, I think, on one of her Ascension Day speech, on the year that she died, I think, she had a speech or gave a written address saying that it's my sincerest wish that, that she's Queen Consort.
Yeah.
That's quite a promotion. We were led to believe when they got married, or there was such a climate at the time, that she was only going to be Princess Consort. Now she's Queen.
Yeah. Well, the person responsible for that is on the left here. I mean, it is a legal, constitutional fact that if you're married to the king, you are the Queen. You are also the Queen Consort, and you are also Queen Camilla. All three of those things are correct. But yeah, people do feel slightly misled by that we thought it was going to be Queen Consort.
Is she the Queen, Samara?
She's not the Queen, I guess she is the Queen of England. I mean, it's a remarkable story if you actually just sit back and maybe take Diana out of the equation for 1 second and have a look at the way that she's worked her way up there and all the trials and tribulations. She didn't have an easy divorce. There were money issues at some stages in her life. And also, I mean, there are rumours, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm glad I'm next to the expert, but her great-grandmother was a mistress of... Oh. There are rumours
Good knowledge, Alice Keppel, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so when you look at that photo and the way that they've gone from that to now the greatest position of power within the monarchy at one
Wasn't that said to be their opening chat-up line? It's like, my great-great-grandmother had an affair with your great-great-grandfather.
Yes.
I mean, that's quite the opening chat.
That's right, that's quite the history there. So I think it is quite impressive if you actually kind of think about it, but not without its challenges.
Is it one of the royal family's greatest love stories? Two people who for years were kind of kept apart for whatever reason, and now they're now they're sitting on the throne as king and queen?
It's an incredible love story. It's just a shame that other people were damaged along the way. I mean, I'm told the idea that Charles dithered in the early 70s, and that's why Camilla went off and married Andrew Parker Bowles. That's not true. I mean, Charles was away on a deployment for the Royal Navy at the time, and he was still quite young in the early 70s. It was too soon to get married then. So it wasn't down to dithering. It was just one of those things. He was away, and Camilla was in love with Andrew Parker Bowles, and that's what happened.
The day itself, the actual wedding day itself, doesn't really sit in the kind of list of iconic royal weddings.
Well, it's not. No. I mean, the crowds are nowhere near as big as they were for Harry and Meghan, or William and Catherine, or Charles and Diana.
Elizabeth II, Charles and Di, even Andrew and Fergie, they were big spectacular.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just.
There they are. There's quite a few crowds out there, though. So.
There was definitely a crowd there, but it's not a young couple, young sort of in love moment.
It's lasted the test of time.
It has, over 21 years. And finally, Samara, would you imagine that the king could have reigned alone? Did he have to remarry? Could you have a solo king, or did he need Princess Consort, Queen Camilla, whatever we're calling, standing by his side?
It's a great question, because I don't think he could have gone about it on his own. I think that, but I also don't think it could have been any woman by his side. And I think that's where the Queen should have taken, or did take a bit of accountability for the fact that Camilla was always his woman. And whether the public doesn't want to agree with that or doesn't like it or not, that is the truth. And I think that they knew each other even before Diana. And unfortunately, because of different structures and the monarchy being a certain way, Diana was then placed in there because that's the sort of optically good option. But unfortunately, or fortunately, it circled right back round to where Charles wanted. So I think they very much are an inimitable duo, and it couldn't have been any other.
You can't expect somebody to do this job on their own. The late Queen could not have done it without Philip. Charles made it very clear he couldn't do it without Camilla. They make each other laugh. That's the key thing. We know that he's more relaxed when Camilla is near. And as somebody told me about Queen Camilla, she brought the fun back.
And they all lived happily ever after, right?
We hope so, yeah.
Fingers crossed. Right, thanks guys. It's really entertaining. Really enjoyed that. Right, that's all we have time for on this week's Royal Exclusive Rewind. Thanks to my guests Simon and Samara, and thanks to you for watching. Join us next time as we dive back into the Royal Archives to relive another unforgettable moment from royal history.